Mike Dooley, get ready to come on down. So we get started into the day. We got an awesome day planned for you. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a big hand for Mike Dooley.
This morning we have a panel of speakers, accredited trainers who have actually been out in the world in the trenches. And we thought it would be a great idea to kind of bring them on stage, let them share a little bit about what they've done and a little bit about themselves, and then turn it over to you for questions and answers, because they were in your very seat just 8 months ago, wondering, could I, would I, should I, will I, and they did. They stepped up to the plate. When you hear your name, would you please come on? Well, what we'd like to do is give each of you about 5 minutes, name, where you're from, kind of what you do, just in a brief nutshell, and keyword about 5 minutes. And then tell us who you spoke to, who you trained, and from there, we will actually start asking the questions. So, would you like to go first? Let's start here. Let's start here, and we'll just pass it on down. Here we go. You can. Oh wow! Props. Did you go to Toastmasters? Here, you can use my microphone.
Morning. Morning. My speech today is about practice and focus really pay off. So my question is, when was the last time you actually just celebrated yourself? For simple things like maybe you did the dishes, or you got up this morning, or you got yourself here, or maybe your irritation at work didn't come home with you. This is what I've learned. Once upon a time, not so very long ago, I was a master complainer. I could complain about anything, and I did. And not only would I complain about people and things, but then I'd complain about me, complaining about them. And I remember one day standing in my kitchen, and I thought to myself, you know, I could probably find something to complain about if I won the lottery or a Nobel Prize. And it was a very disheartening illumination. So it's like, no matter what I did, I was still going to complain. So, being a certified infinite possibilities trainer and all, and having an upcoming gig where I'd be talking to people about creating their lives, I thought it might be a good idea if I got myself some new thoughts about me. So I got out the workbook and I was doing the exercises, and someplace between chapters 2 and 3, I had an idea, an epiphany. I thought, what if, just for 24 hours, one day, I could do just about anything for one day. What if for 24 hours, I celebrated everything I did? Just to see what would happen. So I did. I started saying, yes, you've lost your teeth. Good for you, you took a nap. Nice going, you fixed food for yourself. And pretty soon, I was saying, yes, you stubbed your toe. It was so much fun that I couldn't stop myself. I was frankly amazed at the difference it made in my energy level, in how I felt about doing the things I was doing, how inspired I was. Okay, so fast forward about a week and a half, I'm in North Idaho, in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, about to give my class to people at the Unity Church. And one of the women, very sweet woman there named Linda, she came in to the first class. She's 150 pounds overweight, dealing with the repercussions of that, you know, diabetes and the risk of heart disease and all that. So we do the first class, thoughts become things, visualizations, inventing new thoughts. The next time, the next class, a week later, they're all coming in and I hear Linda say kind of under her breath, yeah, well, it's nothing, but I did make a call to that 12-step group. I just didn't get a hold of anybody. And I jumped out of my chair and said, yay, good for you. I'm going to do a happy dance for you. She looked at me kind of funny. She goes, but I didn't get a hold of anybody. I said, I don't care. You made the call. Dance with me. And she did. And she got up and danced with me, the other 8 people got up and danced with me, and then that thing that she thought was nothing wasn't nothing anymore, it was something. And 6 weeks later, she was solidly in her group, eating her 24 ounces of vegetables every night before she goes to bed, full of hope and really feeling very differently about herself. Bonus. 2 weeks later, I'm at the Sandpoint High School where I'm about to talk to 28 juniors, and this is my dream come true, the education system, talking to kids. And I pull into the parking lot, and I've done all my prep. I visualized, I did the workbook, I did all my stuff, and it's pouring down rain, and I parked my car, and it's a long ways to the building, and I don't even know what room I'm going to when I get there, and my thoughts are like, whose idea was this? I may not be the person for this job, right? And actually, what I was thinking, and that's when the miracle occurred. I'm standing there in the rain and I hear this, honey, look at you. You don't have to be here, and yet here you are. You adore these kids. You are the perfect person for them. I love you, Leslie. Well, I had never heard that in my head before. And I looked around, and sure enough, I was the only person in that parking lot. So it must have been me telling me the truth about me. So I went in there, and we rocked it. And we celebrated having new thoughts that we didn't know we could have about ourselves. So one of my points is, asking, where's the focus? Really pays off.
Well done, well done. Yes, all yours.
I actually did that.
Oh.
Sorry. Okay. My name is Gretchen Eric. I'm a speech-language pathologist, and I've actually been using this with the wide range of people that I see. And I work with kids on the autistic spectrum disorder and various types of cognitive disabilities and executive functioning disorders, all the way up to adults that have had traumatic brain injuries, brain tumors, people that just can't really seem to get their lives together, as well as typical people. So, I typically give smaller groups. The largest group that I presented to so far is only 6. And most of the time it's on a one-on-one basis, so that I can be flexible with the material and deliver it at a rate that's appropriate to the person that I'm teaching. Regardless of the person that I teach, though, I always find that they have the biggest difficulty trying to identify what it is that they want. So I thought today I would be able to help you guys with my world-famous horrible drawings, try to help people identify what it is that they really want. And from an 8-year-old child who's on the spectrum to a man who's a financial analyst and contributes to CNN, they all say the same thing. I say, you know, what is it that you want? And they'll say things like, I don't want to be in debt. I don't want a husband who smokes. I don't want to be overweight. So what they're actually doing is they're reaffirming the nots. So right away I tell them, get rid of the can'ts, get rid of the don'ts. And what we do, we walk through very, very, very slowly using this little flow chart. Oh, we lost the pen. And this is audience participation. So, let me try to scoot over here. So let's, for example, take a very common theme that happens right now. And a lot of people say, I don't want debt, okay? Just think for a moment. Put yourself in that frame of mind, you're in debt. What kind of feelings are going through your body? And feel free to call on out. I'll give one right off the bat. is depression. Does anyone have any other feelings? Nausea, good. Well, I'm actually going to put nauseous over here because that's an action. Frustration, good. Good, excellent. Can't write that fast in my handwriting, it's not that neat. What kind of thoughts go through your mind when you have those feelings? Yes, no good. I'm sorry? Oh, absolutely. Lots of expletives, I'm sure. And also, I can't feed my family. I can't pay my bills. All of those things are very, very valid, and you don't ever want to discredit someone that's having that feeling. But what you want to do is you want them to see, I mean, you start on this downward spiral, putting all this negative energy right out to the universe, what's going to come back? You are just going to continue to spiral right on down and, you know, be in the hole, be stuck. So what we do is we talk about the flip. Instead of saying, I don't want debt, what is the exact opposite of debt? Money! Yes, you got it. I'm just going to put a dollar sign right there. Money, abundance, wealth, fulfillment. What are the new feelings that you have as soon as you think, oh my gosh, I am out of debt? Yes, good. You got it, gratitude. Happy, that's a good one. Freedom, oh yes. Okay, so I'm going to put that under thought, decrease stress. And then what actions do you find yourself doing when you don't have debt? Oh, dancing, that's great. Good. Going online, surfing for your dream vacation, trying to find your dream house, all these very, very, very positive, powerful things. So the new result is a person who will find themselves get out of debt. They're actually replacing that thought of lack. And then what we do, after everyone's in this great state of euphoria, I go and I say, alrighty, let's continue the fun and let's brainstorm some tools for the throes. When you're in the throes of anger, when you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, my bank statement still says 0. What kind of things can you think about that help get you out of that? I start them off and I say, think of the word happy. And I have them create this massive board, and daily they'll go and they'll put synonyms, whenever they feel good. So a synonym for happy is excitement, wonderful, love, joy, peace. Anything that they want up there, and they'll stick it on the refrigerator, at work, wherever, so that when they're having a bad moment, they look at this brainstorm that they created. And that's the biggest point, is you want them to create it. It's so much more powerful when it comes from them and not from you. I could give you words, but if it doesn't have a meaning for you, you're not going to use it. And then the other thing I have them do is take those thoughts and write affirmations on tiny strips of paper, such as you are beautiful, you are wonderful, you are loved, you are abundant. And I have them stick it in a fishbowl or in a jar, something handy, so that when they do go and have one of those moments they reach in, 9 times out of 10, the right one comes out for them. And it just helps them to get back into that state of euphoria. So.
That's amazing.
Testing.
Excuse me 1 second. I'm going to untangle this cord here. It's all yours.
Oh my God. I have never heard my voice magnified like this ever in my life. Clay has. This is really bizarre for me, but okay, so everybody has amazing stories. And I've heard a lot of them even in the short few hours that we've been here so far, something from yesterday. Amazing stories, amazing experiences from so many people that I've met here in the past 24 hours, really. And we all have them, and that's how you truly connect with your audience, whoever you speak with. So I'm not going to belabor my own stories, but in order to share with you how I brought infinite possibilities into my little world, I have to give a little brief history. So in a former life, with all of you, you think 10,000 lives ago, no, really in a former life about 5 years ago or so, I was a medical sales rep. And Are there any nurses in the audience? Please raise your hand. Oh, just a couple, thank you. I promise throughout this presentation I will not offend you. I will do my best. That's around nursing. So I'm not a nurse, but I was a medical sales rep. And one thing about the nurses, when they have a captive audience, including sales reps, they treat the sales reps like bartenders. So I will tell you, in the course of a few years being a medical sales rep, I've heard all the nurses' stories and drama and woes and family and divorces and who's doing who and who's not doing what. And let me just tell you, I became a psychiatrist in that former job. But the consistent theme with nurses was unmotivated, underappreciated, underpaid, overworked, doctors disrespecting them, hospital administration disrespecting them. It was like, woe is me. It's like, why are you even in this field? But I admire them so much. But fast forward a little bit, because after becoming a medical sales rep, somehow I was crazy enough to stay in the healthcare field, which brought me to what I do now. And I oversee a cardiac institute of about 150 nurses who report up to me. So when I joined this hospital, local hospital, about 2 months into the job, as I was starting to learn some of the hospital operations and who was who, I noticed that the nurses were coming up to me, telling me they were underappreciated, they weren't motivated, they didn't understand why the doctors disrespected them, they were underpaid. And then you throw the union into the mix, and that served its own set of challenges. And let me just tell you, I put psychiatrists on my door, so I went from being a bartender to a psychiatrist who's still remaining in the healthcare field. But fast forward to Julie's program back in October, because I thought, you know, what better group of people to really reach out to who really need self-empowerment. So, after October, you know, Clay and I were discussing, well, I know I'm not going to go to prisons. I can't see myself doing that. But what about my own world? What's going on in my own world where I can reach out to people? And how scary is that, though? Nurses who are already angry. I mean, when I walk through these halls in my hospital, I mean, people are looking down, nobody's saying hello. The aura around nurses was just horrendous, horrendous. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to start there. One by one, if I can change the culture of this place, one nurse at a time, then I'm doing an amazing thing. So the challenges that I faced with implementing Infinite Possibilities was I really had to keep spirituality, religion, God, universe kind of out of it, because I'm in a highly clinical environment and you never really know how people are going to take these things. So out of Infinite Possibilities, I had to take 5 of the topics, and I excluded a couple, dealing with dreams and things like that. Had to take that out of the picture. But I developed a wellness program in the hospital that included a 5-week course, and I called it Bettering the Mind, Body, and Spirit, Road to a Happy You. I took into consideration that nutrition was a big part of it, so I employed our dietary services who did more of the body and nutrition, diet, exercise type of thing, and I took care of the mind and spirit. So in 5 weeks, I did Thoughts Become Things, Limiting Beliefs, Empowering Beliefs, Dreams and Goals, and Taking Action. So every week, I conducted about an hour-long program, and I had about 15 or 20 nurses that showed up. But what was interesting is the same faces were showing up, same faces. And I did the same talk twice a week, so if somebody couldn't attend one, they wouldn't miss another. And what I found during that time was pretty cool. All of a sudden, these people who were attending these classes were knocking on my door. Hey, God, what about this? What about that? What you shared with me really made a difference. But then, they started sharing their problems with me, so I had to keep psychiatrists on the door. But I really just put Infinite Possibilities on the door. Like, you know what, this is amazing because they're opening up. And I was making a difference. And I did activities every time. For example, the vision boards. I started out with what I call the list of 20. So when I actually started the program, I made every single attendee write down a list of 20. Dreams and goals, things they wanted to achieve and accomplish. And I said, this is really your personal list. Keep it on your person at all times. Put it in your pocket, stick it in your lab coat, keep it with you, because this makes you accountable to yourself. And every day, every time you think about one of these things on the list of 20, it's going to make you feel good. It's going to change your mindset, because you can change your life one moment at a time. One moment at a time, one thought at a time. And it was amazing, because I could have heard a pin drop in these classes. And when I brought out my own vision boards to kind of go through that exercise, you know, I kind of had to peel the dust off some of them because I created a lot of them. I was kind of embarrassed to show these guys my own vision boards. I mean, there are some things on there that, I mean, my Aston Martin's not in my garage yet, but I'm sure that's coming to me very soon. But you know, a lot of things that I saw on the vision boards, when I actually looked and I was presenting to these folks, I'm like, oh my gosh, I did that. Oh my gosh, I had that. You know, it was one of those things, it was almost like a self-realization. And that was amazing because we talked about how we're learning as teachers and adventurers and motivators through all this, and we really are. So by teaching others, we're empowering ourselves, and it's absolutely amazing. So I have to share a cute little story because the first day that I was going to speak, oh my God, I was nervous as hell because I thought, who am I? I'm not clinical. How am I going to reach these nurses? They're angry, they're unmotivated, they hate their jobs. What am I going to share with them that could possibly change the culture of this place and make them change their way of thinking? Who am I? How can I do this? Where am I going to start? And you know, I was all nervous. Clay, do I look okay? I mean, my dress all right? And he goes, dude, you're talking to nurses. They wear scrubs and no makeup. I think you look just fine. But really, I was nervous because I thought, who am I? Am I worthy to teach these people about, you know, spirituality and manifesting your dreams and empowering yourself? But then Clay said something to me that I really want to share with you all, is that if not you, then who, right? Who is going to teach these people? So if you are struggling as new trainers with where to really start, who are in your circles? Where do you work? You know, it's not just about homeless shelters and prisons and schools, and that's fabulous that we reach out and go to these places, but everybody needs this. So start with you. And that made all the difference in the world. It truly, truly did. But I will say something about the woohoo moment. The woohoo moment is that one of the nurses, her name is Elvie, she's about 4 feet tall, she's Filipino. She created her own vision board. And she brought it to me. She was so excited to show me. She put it together, you know, in this notebook, and she had pictures of dollar bills all over it. And I said, so Elvie, this is great, so what does that mean to you? She goes, well, what it means to me is the more money I have, the better I can do for my family, and you know, I can buy things and I can do things, and I really want to do this for my family. It's about being rich. Okay, Elvie, okay. So I started thinking, and I'm in another little business venture. It's not the Dragonfly, but it's something else. And when I shared it with her, I said, so you can kind of make some money at this. And she goes, oh my God, I just manifested you. This is great. And I did that throughout the class. So now when I see some of these folks who attended my seminars, they walk through the halls, and there's like this personal connection. Because they walk through and we'll see each other and they'll go, woohoo! And I'll go, woohoo! How many times do you see nurses doing that? Okay? So start in your circles. Reach in, as I call it, and not necessarily reach out all the time. What I mean by that, metaphorically speaking, you're reaching in because you're bettering yourself by getting out there and just starting somewhere. And you're reaching in because you're reaching into your own worlds and your own circles. You all can touch so many people and who you have right now that you see every single day. And then reach out. It'll start small, it'll get much larger. And that's really it. So God bless you.
Good morning to all my new friends. My name is Tina Spinks, and I had the awesome opportunity to work with Andy Dooley. Andy and I trained men at Bridges of America. Bridges is a transitional program for people who have been incarcerated for drug and alcohol-related offenses. I found that I was losing my train of thought. My experience was I practiced this and practiced this all week long, and would you believe I'm so nervous I just can't find the word I want to use. My experience was challenging, but yet it was empowering and positive at the same time. And I was left with this question: who learns more, the student or the teacher? During my first speech, it was recognized that I wasn't prepared, I wasn't organized, and I wasn't focused during the presentation. Oh, hallelujah, hallelujah, thank God Andy was there to assist me. Andy would read my speeches and critique them. He showed me where my weaknesses were and shared with me the tools that I needed to be better prepared. He became my mentor, and from that, a good friend. I remember Andy telling me weekly, be gentle with yourself and have fun. As a result, I became better organized, and I also learned to get to know your audience, find out what their challenges and their experiences are. And by getting to know them personally, I found that they would interact with the class, which made teaching them more fun, and they enjoyed what they were learning as well. So consequently, I was enticed to want to learn more. Now last year during the conference, it was stated multiple times how important Toastmasters was. And I thought to myself at the time, who needs Toastmasters? I've taught in the past. I've given speeches in the past. As a matter of fact, one time I gave a speech that everybody said was the best they ever heard. Well, I needed Toastmasters. I need to continue to have my speeches critiqued by my peers to help me become better prepared for my next adventure in teaching the IP program. So yes, there were challenges, and I was empowered to learn more, but I also experienced positive results as well. An example of that was when a young man came to us, and he was so excited that we were going to be teaching the program. He said his girlfriend had been sending him notes from the universe, but at the same time, he was disappointed because he was leaving the program to go to work release, and he wasn't going to be able to complete the class. At the same time, we received a letter from his mother. She wanted us to know that we had been a significant part in her son's growth. She also wanted to learn more and was going to go to the TUB website and find out how thoughts become things. It was awesome reading her words of appreciation and to be a part of their family's journey, their joy, and their happiness. In the end, 15 men received their certificates of completion. But I had learned to be better organized, to get to know my audience, the importance of Toastmasters, and the sheer joy of getting to teach infinite possibilities. So being, and I got the answer to my question. Being the student and the teacher, I feel I was the one who learned more. And I recognize that there's always something to be taught and something to be learned.
Paula Casey. I'm an attorney from Wichita. I've been a divorce attorney for 32 years. I decided I want to use my power for good instead of evil. I came here in October and we got trained. I went home and I told my husband I'm going to have a workshop done by December, and I'm an overachiever. So I called a couple of my friends, and I only have 2. So I asked them if they could bring some friends. So there were 6 women, and I made my husband sit there, and he loved it. And we met every Tuesday for 6 weeks, and it was about an hour and a half. And after we got done, I would feed them to make sure they would be there and stay through the whole thing. And so how I started preparing is, as an attorney, my job is to verify facts. My job is to qualify my experts. My job is to make sure whatever I present, there's documentation. And all of the people that I presented to were professionals. They were doctors and attorneys and realtors and teachers, and there's some business executives. And they also were having to verify facts when they did anything. And so what I did was I took the workbook, which is wonderful, and I did huge bullet points, and I had a lot of space between the bullet points. Now, I have read hundreds of books on enlightenment for years, and I love all of the concepts, but I never really got how some of them went together. But I will tell you, after I used the workshop book, I would just think of how this particular resource, this particular author would go into this particular thing. And what I was trying to do is, since there's no PhD in enlightenment, and there's no PhD in New Ageology, there's no really, experts that you can say that this stuff is true. But what there is there's scientific fact that proves the vast majority of these things, because science and spirituality are now coming together. So what I did is I would take pretty much each chapter and I would use other resources. So for the first introduction in Thoughts Become Things, I introduced the mindfulness cognitive therapy, which is a very accepted part of psychology, which they use on depressed patients. It works twice as good as any kind of medication, and it's mindfulness. You have to stay in the now. You can't worry about, you can't ruminate on what happened in the past. You can't worry about the future. You have to stay in the now. You have to be some self-aware. There has to be this space that you can think. They teach you how to meditate, and it's a very well-respected area of psychology that is doing exactly what we're doing here. So we talked about that. I had some footnotes on that. We also talked about just to crack their armor, and most of them were very open to it, but you're still a little, whoa. So just to crack the armor, we talked about quantum physics. We're at a subatomic level. The observer actually changes what's being observed. This is the one time science can actually measure thoughts. And if you can measure thoughts, they're things. And thoughts become things. And what we can actually do, our thoughts actually change something at a subatomic level. So, and I've got great books, I've got a good reading list to do that. So then we went on about limiting beliefs. And I don't know if any of you read Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's very business oriented, but it is so spiritual. And one of them is about the paradigm shift. And that you have a set of facts, and if you bring your story to it and you don't know that, you're going to react in a certain way. You have to become this objective observer. You have to become more self-aware, so your higher self can talk to your brain and say, hey, let's try to reevaluate this. So we talked about paradigm shifts in Stephen Covey's book. And the way we get to become more aware, the way we get to have that space when we're actually reacting to things every day so we can change our thoughts, our beliefs, emotions, and actions. This self-awareness is, we have to kind of quiet our mind. We have to stop. We can't just immediately always react to something. And the way to do that, I brought in meditation. And there's a book called 8-Minute Meditation. It's by Victor Davidge. It is fun, it is quick, and we actually did it in our sessions. And you gotta quiet your brain. There's a lot of documentation, there's a lot of science out there that says people that meditate, their both sides of their brain works better together, their frontal lobe is more activated, that's what is intuitive, that's what's attached to other people. You put out alpha waves, which is much more calming. Your heart rate goes down, and people that meditate all day long have a calmer brain. So if you can stop your brain, which is really hard to do, for 8 minutes at least, at the very most, then all during the day you've got a little bit more of that space that you need to be be making these decisions. How am I going to think in regard to this? How am I going to feel in regard to this? You give yourself and you give your higher self a chance to kind of get in there and change some of the ways you feel. So we meditated, and then we found that if we meditated first, it was so much easier to do the visioning because your brain was quiet. You could really focus on what it is that you wanted to vision. So we talked about meditation, and we actually had some documentation in regard to that. So one of the other things is, and I don't know how many of you read What the Bleep Do We Know or seen the movie. So Dr. Emoto, and he's a PhD in something, I don't know what it is. but he has these experiments where he's crystallizing water. And when you think good thoughts on this one set of a bottle of crystallizing water, it's beautiful crystals. Gratitude, love, kindness, and they can just write it on the bottle, and they keep it overnight, and it's these beautiful crystals. And the ones that you put in fool or I hate you, they don't even crystallize. It's just amazing. They play beautiful classical music to these one bottles, and they're beautiful. They play grunge, which is what my 18-year-old son listens to this other stuff, and it's horrible. It's like a nightmare. Okay, if our thoughts can do that to water, and we're 70% water, what do our thoughts do to us, and what do they do to the people around us? It's another thing that cracked that armor, that said to my people, hey, there's objective information out there that proves everything that we're talking about right here. There's something called the 0 point field. There's a book called The God Theory, and it's by an astrophysicist. His name is Bernard Haisch, H-A-I-S-C-H. And there is an energy field out there that is very provable by science. And when you get to an absolute 0 degrees in space, there should be nothing left. There should be no heat, there should be no energy, there should be nothing, because it's an absolute 0. But there still is. There's this energy field that all science actually has to use in their formulas. There is still this vibrating energy field that's out there. And this astrophysicist, and it's the most spiritual book I've ever read, and it's very scientific, says this energy field is what connects us all. That's where we get our past and present information. Since we're just vibrating subatomic particles, we're on this energy field. We're all connected. That's how we have our intuition. That's how we have our hunches. That's how we get all of this information. And it's an excellent book, and it's a harder read, but it's a really good read. And the reason I thought these things were important is because in one of the chapters, Faith and the Magical Universe, he talked about that you just can't take things on blind faith. That you have to use 2 things. One of those is your own experience to determine if something feels right, if this is the way you want to go, and the other was knowledge. And knowledge on people that you talk to, and knowledge on written things. But there's a lot of resources out there that are objective science that prove everything that has been discussed in the workbook, and the workbook is wonderful. It helped me organize all of my hundreds of books on how everything flows. And so when we got done, my people didn't want to stop. So we still meet once a month, and about a month later I started getting calls from their friends, and they said, would you put on another workshop? And I said, well, rich, white, smart women need enlightenment too, so okay. I did another one, and we got that done in May, and now both groups are meeting together once a month at my house, and I need a bigger house, or I need to figure out another way to do this. But I absolutely love it. It's changed my life. It's changed their lives. It makes them think about what they want to do. We're putting our heads together to do some other projects. It's something you guys can do on Monday when you get back. You don't have to go find a homeless shelter. You've got friends that would love to have this done, and just put them together and start a ripple. Put them together in your living room and start a ripple. That's what this is all about. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Deb Passios, and I too have never spoken in a microphone before, so. I'm just going to share a little bit of my experience differences with you. I'm a public school teacher in Massachusetts. I work with special needs children, so I really know how to break down tasks, and I really think that the workbook does that very, very nicely. It addresses what needs to be done. But I have to tell you, I almost talked myself out of doing anything because I thought, how can I go to someone and present this, the principal, and present that I want to teach some of the staff in the building? It's kind of, out there, not really public education stuff. But I hemmed and hawed, went through all these scenes in my mind, and I sat down with her, and within 2 minutes, she said, take any supplies you need, find a room that works for you. You can't do it during school time, but before or after school, any of that's fine. So I put out my about 80 brochures to the staff members. I invited custodians, school psychologists, all the teaching staff, assistants, everybody. And I got 5 people that said that they'd like to do it. Okay, great. So we met on Wednesday morning, 7:30. I'm not a morning person. But we met and we immediately formed this bond. Now, I work in a school of about 100 staff members, but some of these people I really didn't know because I'm in my room, they're in their room, and we don't really get together. But within probably 2 or 3 weeks, we were almost like this little secret club walking down the hall, and it's like, so we did our 7 weeks, and as with other people, at the end of the time, they said, we don't want to stop. So we still get together every Wednesday morning at 7:30. And then they talked to other people in the building about what it was all about, and people started coming to me, when will you do another one? So we started up another one. So I've gone through this twice. I have to tell you, we met, I don't know what the dates were in October, but my class started November 3rd. So you really don't have to wait. You can get right out there and get it going. The principal has since come to me and said, I don't know what you're doing, but don't stop. Because people... There have been some issues between staff, and they've resolved their issues. I personally don't know what they were, or how the resolution came about, but they just didn't want to carry around that negativity anymore. And my feeling is that if I could touch one teacher who talked to one child in a more positive way during the course of the day, then so I want to tell you, for those of you starting out, I didn't know how I was going to be Mike Tooley. And look at me, I'm standing up here. I used all of Mike's stories and his experiences, and I must have said, and Mike says, 1,000 times. By the second time I did it, it was probably 80% my stories and 20% Mike's stories. So you do get to customize, what you're doing. So I've kind of worked through the teachers in my building, and my plan is next. I meet with the assistant superintendent on Tuesday. I'm going to start working with high school students. I'm going to go in one morning a week. High school starts before elementary school. Work with a different group every week and just hit on the high points. Clay has been very helpful, giving me some advice, and I'm really looking forward to making it move forward.
If you think today and this weekend is changing your life, wait till you teach the class. I am the Pollyanna of the professional business world, right? Been the secretary, been the analyst, I'm a project manager for a very large healthcare company, so so I get what you're saying about the healthcare environment. And I am in employment nirvana. And when I started at this company, HCA, had a meeting with the boss, you know, you do all the performance planning and stuff, and I was doing the Melanie thing, just being myself, all positive about everything, and he's like, how do we get that here? I had no clue. But I made a statement, I'm gonna get Mike Dooley here. I had no idea how to make that happen. So I was just Melanie in all my meetings and all the project stuff. And then I got to teach a class to some of my peers, unrelated, and loved it. And then I found out, Train the Trainer in Orlando, October, I'm going. And I was at a training event at a hospital. We got to go for a week and be on site. And Sheila Stern was there. Random conversation. Oh, hey, thoughts become things? Yeah, I'm going this weekend. Come with me. She had the position, the knowledge, the connections to bring Mike Dooley to HCA. Mike Dooley was there in February. People still listen and watch the video that we did. My coworkers went. We talk about it in the hallway. My presentation of Infinite Possibilities started about a month later, and I was so nervous. Because I can get really distracted and whoop, and chat and have fun. So, you know, my approach to the class was, all right, I'll do an outline. I'll read the workbook, go through the book a little, have an outline. The biggest thing I learned was leaving space. Because in every single class I learned as much from the participants as I was sharing with them, more even. They would share stories. My favorite one is from a couple of people who said, yeah, after listening to Mike Dooley, our boss stood up, she went to another room and accepted a job offer. So they'd seen it in their lives, right? So leaving that space, and you know, you talk about a challenge. Absolutely, there were moments of challenge. You know how to ride a bike or you know how to swim? Can you remember what it was like to not? So there are things that we present in Infinite Possibilities that I just, you know, it just is, right? I don't question it. Those were challenging things for me to present. And so those were the learning moments for me from the participants. So it was absolutely amazing. We're gonna do it again. Woo! Yes. The two ladies who had the boss that took another job, I'm about to take hers. And this is classic Infinite Possibilities. They called me a week and a half ago. Okay, somebody gave me your name. Here you go. So leave space, enjoy it, you're gonna learn a lot. Do you feel the energy in here? It's like that after every single class. I was high up Slick Height every Thursday afternoon. Better than a triple dancing. So enjoy it.
Thank you. Wow, that's amazing. Are these overachievers or what? Every one of you, I was in your shoes as you were explaining your stories, and I could feel the highs, the lows, the fears, the trepidation. And I still, to this day, in my own work, will tell anyone that the most difficult part of my life is the moments and sometimes the days leading up to a big talk. And the absolute best part of my life, professionally speaking, is the moments right after I get to talk. And it's uncanny. And then you forget the fear, and you get the next opportunity or invitation, and you're like, yeah, I'll do that. And then as the moments approach for a delivery day, you're just like, oh, even still now for me, But the high afterwards is even better every single time. It stretches us, it makes us more than who we knew we could even dream to be one day when you're out there kind of pursuing a dream and facing your fears. And I'm humbled, I'm awed by the work you have done, the initiatives you've taken. I'm inspired to want to do more. I learned from some of the tools and techniques that you were even sharing just now. And it's like, I hope this is not a dream. I think we've got something. I think the evidence is here. You perform stellarly. I really would like to create a place at our website so that we can post what you've done, so that you can post what you've done. You've got some resources, some books, some tips and tricks. I think inevitably we'll have a profile page for every trainer so that we can go there and share these resources in the open format way that we were talking about earlier. Cannot thank you enough. We still have some time. We're doing very good, and bravo to all of you. Watching the clock and managing your time, that's one of the first lessons of Toastmasters. Do we have some questions for any one of our panelists? Yes?
I have a question for Paula. You gave a man's name for Mike something? Mike something? You said, you had to do this research, you had that scientific whatever to back it up.
Well, Stephen Harvey was, no, and then there's Emoto, Dr. Emoto, who was the Bernard Page.
No.
The only ones I mentioned. Victor Davidge, D-A-V-I-C-H, 8-minute meditation. I have it on my Kindle, so I don't know what it looks like. It's a quick book, and it's got some great meditation exercises, and it's fun to do.
Could you post that to Facebook?
That works.
And all of you, when you have a success story or a good day, nothing feeds the flames of all of our hearts more than tuning in and seeing that somebody did something somewhere and, learn something, reach people, and share how you did it. Because things like that we will add to the website when we pull them off of Facebook.
Dr. Joe Dispenza was in What the Bleep. He's a chiropractor turned biophysicist. He did a TED Talk recently on the brain and how you change your mind. So you can actually see thoughts come and go, and neural nets prune themselves and disappear. I gave it to the teenagers, and their eyes just, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So I'll post that too. I'll post the link to that TED Talk.
Post away. Post.
Dispenza. D-I-S-C-E-N-Z-A.
It'll be on Facebook.
Does this count towards Toastmasters points if I speak? I guess working like in sales and marketing and things, I'm always looking for the right words to say to the right audience to get through that first initial call. So writing an email like "Dear super cool, soon to be enlightened person" probably wouldn't work for a CEO, but it would be helpful, I think, probably for people that don't do that on a regular basis to find out what has worked. And is there a tool already that exists on the website or the space?
There are form letters already on the website, and we will continue to post more resources. We'll organize them. That's one of the things that we can do. So we will.
The biggest thing about that, the words will come. The right things will come out of your mouth. Even if they sound like they're the wrong things, it always works out perfectly. You'll say what you never expected to say. It's always perfect.
So is that 3 minutes? Do I get a bell?
My question is for the afterward meetings where everybody still wants to get together. What sort of things do you do? Do you have a format? Do you have a program? Or do you just kind of go with the flow?
Well, we eat pizza. And I have a lot of, like What the Bleep, and I've got some Deepak Chopra tapes. And we usually watch about an hour tape. We want to kind of start trying to do maybe book clubs and come back and we want to, right now we're watching movies because we're lazy to want to eat pizza, but you know, we want to have like book clubs and stuff, but they just want to get together to share the energy. It's hard to actually get them to do something else besides just talk. So we talk and we watched a couple of movies and we kind of talked about books we want to read, and they don't want to lose the energy. There's that connectedness they've never felt before because somebody's finally telling them that you've got this divinity in you, and they don't want to lose that. And so it's really more a gossip session. It's just to get together and we do one thing at a time. That's kind of a next step of learning. So there's a lot of cool movies out there. And his.
There's actually something that we do too, which I stole from Mike. Thank you. We'll go and we'll compare what we had manifested basically with the adults. And then we'll play the one-up game. Like, oh, that was great, but I can beat you. And even if it's exaggerated at that moment, it just fuels their fire and kind of lets them keep on going.
Along the movie line, there is something called the Spiritual Cinema Circle. I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads. Those are great. Short movies, interaction, so that's a great tool. I reference that quite often.
When we get together, we become more like miracle sharers. So we talk about, sometimes at the beginning of the notebook, of the workbook, you put your dreams and your goals. And we talked about things that we've achieved that we didn't think we would, or how people that were in the classes are now sharing the information with other people in their lives or their families. So it's just, you can see the ripple effect. We don't have a structured plan. We just get together and share the highs of our lives, basically.
Paula, I'd like to know how this has changed you professionally as an attorney. Has it changed your attitude to your clients and to your opposing people? Has it made you nicer in your demands for the other side?
I think the fact that I just want to do it changed me. I think the fact that I have had this paradigm shift has changed me. It's hard to not be an adversary. They pay you to be obnoxious, you know, so, but I can temper that, and I definitely temper that, and we've got a nice friendly bar, so it's not too bad. So I think just the fact I wanted to do it has tempered the way I look at it. I want there to be light at the end of the tunnel so I don't have to be an attorney the rest of my life. So, and I think that's affected how I approach people, and I'm definitely happier all day, and I think I'm just as effective, but I compartmentalize it more, and I see the bigger picture with this, and the energy I got from the groups were amazing. I did this Tuesday nights, and I'm in court all day Tuesday, and by 4:30 I am the crankiest person you ever want to see. And I'm sitting there saying, I don't want to do this, I'm going to call everybody, it's a bad day. And 5 minutes after they start, they have given me more energy than I've ever lost. So I do think it has made me happier during the day. I still have to, you know, be the witch, but that's okay. I get paid for it. So, but I see light at the end of the tunnel, and that's a good question. I appreciate that. It has changed my attitude.
Hi, my name is Mimi. Well done, girls. I have had an opportunity, and Clay was very helpful for me, to go into the Department of Corrections for women. It was a fluke. I came here in October, it worked out, I knew the gatekeeper. I'm like, I don't know any other gatekeepers. How do you get past HCA, the gatekeeper? Susie, you were kind of up there already, so you already had that level that you could go to. I work at a hospital. I work at a nonprofit Catholic hospital who's got a mission and morals and all these other things that I want to know how to get past that gatekeeper that's going to make, this is going to make sense, how to sell it to them, for lack of a better word. And I know a lot of people are wondering, how do I get past the gatekeeper? Who do I know? To get this to move forward. I can do it with my friends. Oh yeah, you bet I can. I have a captive audience with them, but to get it to that level, because it is the nurses and it is the staff of of the people you work with day to day that you see that are disgruntled, and you're like, how can I get in here?
Thank you, sir. So I do need to rely on Sheila a little bit for how this played out. It was very infinite possibility in the making, because as Sheila was a participant, she is in the educational area of the HR team. And so she had vendor connections. They do an educational session every year. We have a super speaker series every quarter with the IT&S department. And they bring in, you know, outstanding people. And that was an opportunity to bring Mike in. We also have required training. So they're always looking to add to the curriculum, whether it's, you know, learn C#, this programming language, or how about facilitation, how about this new perspective on thought, and that's how Infinite Possibilities was really presented. Mike, you bridged the gap really well. When you did the presentation, Mike talked about, you know, it's challenging, how do you present the woohoo stuff in this business environment? It's about the people. And the business environment does not exist without the people. So this is about the individual. I even approached each of the workshop sessions the same way. So in our summary, we talk about, you know, this is a personal development for an individual that will benefit the organization. But you've done it. You've already got that feather in your cap. You have a gatekeeper that you can say, talk to this person. So that's your in.
Thanks, Mimi. And actually, I'm not going to talk about missions and morals when it comes to hospitals right now. We'll just leave it at that. But I will say that I had to approach it because, again, a very clinical environment, a lot of rules, a lot of regulations. Really have to be careful what you do and say. So for me, it was like, okay, how can I intertwine and incorporate this without getting in trouble or offending anybody, but making it a very positive experience? And it is about the people, most definitely. So by creating a guise, if you will, of a wellness program, which I think that's the two words of the decade, wellness programs. You hear about this all over the place. So what I did was I had to go to HR, I had to get things approved. They had to see my curriculum, which is why I had to abbreviate a lot of things that we all read and we all know, but I had to exclude some of the real good stuff, really, but still get a lot of the great points in there about manifestations and empowerment, things like that. But under the guise of the wellness program, I was able to incorporate it as, okay, well, I'm going to combine my efforts with our nutrition department. Because that's real big. You know, we have little contests of the biggest loser and things like that go on. So that helped me. And I did still have to go through a lot of approvals. I wasn't the end-all be-all, but I think if you approach it that way and combine it with something else, that is almost a great sell, if you will, you know, into it. If that helps.
One or two more questions.
Thank you, all of you. Your information has been invaluable. I wanted to speak a little bit more towards about the wellness theory. I'm a paralegal. I work in a law firm, a very large firm that covers more than one state. And so, you know, talk about rigid. We very much live within a very specific box. And the way that I get through as a member of the Wellness Committee is to put it in terms of money. And what that boils down to in my world is insurance claims and insurance costs. So wellness as it connects to keeping insurance claims down, making people healthier, reducing stress, requiring physicals, things like that. And it's become a huge component of management in the law firm that I work in. And I also realized since I've been here that I manifested wellness, which is really good. I hated my job. I so don't want to be a paralegal. I want to be a life coach. I've been to school, been a life coach, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to make the transition, but in the meantime, I got to make a living. So it's a stepping stone, and now I have a different perspective on the job. So thanks.
carry this one step further about the wellness. You could go to the medical board, and I have done that before, and I'm not in the medical field. You already have a wellness program in place. And for nurses, they need the CEUs every year or every other year. And you know, you're right at the forefront of what you're doing. Present what you have. They'll tell you what won't work and what will. And this is another way that you can open this up, not just to your group of nurses, but to everybody. And if you put it on the site, once that's done, and I swear to you, it doesn't take a whole lot. I have 2 programs already that nurses take that they get 8 CEUs for. So if you do that, everybody in this room, or everybody in the medical field, I mean, you can just pass it on, and what a great tool that would be.
One more question. Anybody?
Oh, this is great. I'm loving it because I'm a realtor in the Nashville, Tennessee area, and I want to be a coach. But the only thing we haven't really discussed, I mean, it's great everybody's giving and doing pro bono, but what about the business plan? What about how you charge? I want to make a living at it. I want to.
Well, I would say, I'll address that just quickly, that this is one of the doors we knock on, from which other doors will open. Like you said, there was kind of infinite possibilities at play that got you into a position where you could deliver at the hospital. Once you start down the path, all of a sudden, doors open that you didn't even know were there. And some of them, if abundance is one of the doors or one of the dreams that you have, those will appear as well as you move in that direction as a trainer. I did not do charity work per se the first year, 12 years ago, but it was all pro bono. And it led to opportunities where people saw what I was doing, they heard what I was doing, they invited me to do more. I asked questions like you asked, how can I make a buck out of this? And then all of a sudden I was doing an audio program. All of these people have taken license, as we've encouraged them to do, to add their own stories, their own flair. Every one of you could do your own audio program right now. So in and of itself, the Infinite Possibilities Trainer Program doesn't promise money or create even a clear career path, but it does create a platform from which you can mingle it with other things. You could write your own book, your own stories, get coaching accreditation somewhere else and blend them together. You could even, and I've said this somewhat facetiously earlier, bill yourself as an Infinite Possibilities coach that charges $250 an hour. You know, and so could anybody else here, and then there'll be competition. Because we're not going to set standards or norms, we're just creating this baseline from which, using the open shareware formula of the internet, you then take it to the next level. So there's more work to do, and it's going to take some creativity, but there's magic involved. And the right people will show up at the right time as you knock on the doors, pursuing a coaching career, a speaking career, facilitation career, and you'll have, just as Toastmasters gives you kind of a curriculum and a body of work through the speeches you write, so will you be creating your own curriculum, your own body of work, your own expertise as you go down these paths. Does anybody here want to kind of add an insight to that? We'll keep these brief and then we'll take our break.
I too am looking in the same direction that you're thinking. I would like to be a life coach. I found if you go on YouTube, there are just lots and lots of folks out there that have programs and teach you. You become certified as a life coach, and I'm sure within their programs they can help you as far as, you know, what you might be able to charge and so on and so forth. So you might want to look into that. And two, I know that you don't have to be certified to be a coach. There are no government, state laws that mandate that you have to be certified. I think that just gives you credibility if you are, and then two, gives you the tools and information to be a good life coach.
So my game plan is to have this 2 or 3 times and get some good feedback so I can put it on a web page. And I'm going to look for like a storefront. And I'm going to start a store that's called If, A World of Possibilities. And it has a lot of things in it, but it has an area that is comfortable, overstuffed chairs, and that every Tuesday and Thursday people know that I'm giving these. And so they'll get into a habit of, it's a 6-week schedule, you have to sign up, and once that we're credible, that they know it's credible, I think you can start charging for like a 6-week session. And if you get them in with other things so they see the magic, you're going to have you know, inspirational knickknacks and inspirational clothing and jewelry. You get them in, you hook them in, and then you get them going on the workshops and maybe yoga, maybe book clubs, and so they feel comfortable there. It's, you know, I call it a girl cave, so they can show up and have somewhere to hang out. So I'm very tangible. I need something tangible to work for. But I think you could do that, get your name out, people kind of know what to do. You have a value. If you don't charge it, it's not a value to them either. But you got to get credible first. So I think it's very possible. I think you could do it. I think there could be this string of all these storefronts that people could go to do it. So that's kind of my goal on this whole thing. So.
I would just say that's a great word, credibility. This is an opportunity to go from doing whatever it was you were doing totally unrelated to training to all of a sudden you now have a platform, you are certified, you have a body of work from which you can spin off many other things. So this is a launching pad is what I think we're creating, while at the same time reaching those who have not yet been reached. Thank you all so much. This was a